I'm just really here to try and give you some background information on the building of Yoda and some stuff that we've been doing ever since. This puppet is a perfect likeness of the original Yoda. Size, the hands, the feet, the costume, the stick are all exactly the same as the original. The costume wear and tear has been matched as well. This was made up from little pieces that came from the original molds. We made those molds in 1979 and they were in my boss's attic except for the basic outside of the Yoda's head. Yoda is made up from about 7 different molds. You've got a mold for each ear, you've got a mold for basically the skin, you've got a mold for the skull, you've got a mold for each hand and for each foot, so that's more than 7. There was a lip extension that was added after the event, which just extends his lip in an attempt to make him look subliminally more like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein had this big moustache that made his lip look too long. So that's why Yoda's lip is as long as it is. But in the original sculpt, it was about 1/4 of an inch shorter. So the mechanism, the hand controls are different, but the mechanism is pretty much the way the original was made. I was filming with this 1 week ago. I can't tell you what I was filming on, but I had a puppeteer who was a little heavy-handed with the eyes. I had told her that you needed to be really gentle with the eyes, but you know, if you reach the limit and then you just keep pulling, then eventually something's got to break. Right. Yeah. And unfortunately it's on the inside of the head, which will take me about 2 months to fix. But such is life. I'm going to show you how some of this worked along the way, and then I'm going to ask if anybody's got any questions, and we'll take it from there. Okay? Okay. So Yoda was the first animatronic superstar. He was the first character to come to screen, and no one used the word animatronics before Empire Strikes Back relating to movies. They used the word animatronics because it sounded fancy, but actually it would have been much better to have called it soft mechanics, because as soon as someone hears the word animatronics, they rush out and buy a servo, and anything that works from a motor is not going to move in a biological fashion, like your shoulder, which is really your shoulder is a sloppy ball in a sloppy socket held together by rubber bands, and engineers don't build that. We were all makeup artists, and we built things based on starting with the effect that we wanted and working backwards to see how we could create it, rather than starting with the mechanism and then trying to see what you cover it with to make it look, you know, believable. So Yoda's ears are his most expressive elements. They're capable of very gentle little movements, which gives just a little sense of life. They can work in different directions. They can even wave at you. But they're capable of pulling in. They're capable of stretching out. They're capable of going up, and they're capable of going a long way down. They're much more variable than what I see in the stuff that's being made right now, where you basically have a stick and you got a pivot here and you pull here and the ear goes up and down. I'm afraid that seems to be the extent of what I'm seeing from the new Disney stuff, whereas this mechanism wasn't mine. It was something that a lady from the Muppets showed me, and I thought it was absolutely superb. That was Wendy Midner, who married Brian Froud. I don't know if any of you know who Brian Froud is. He was the designer for Dark Crystal, and Wendy was the one who sculpted all the Gelflings and made the Gelflings. So anyway, they asked me to work on Dark Crystal too. I'm afraid I turned them down. Such was life. Besides the ears, of course, there's the eyes left and right and up and down. I can't operate those right now because that's broken. And Yoda's blink. This one is the first Yoda ever built that can smile. So, Yoda is built with a foam skin. The foam skin is foam latex, and it is basically no thicker than 1/4 of an inch in any area. It's 1/8 of an inch in the eyelids, and so those are very delicate. And it's designed so that when he closes his eyes, it stretches all the way back to here. If you look again, you'll see his eyebrows give as well as his eyelids, right? That's so that you don't have all of that strain just on 1 inch of foam that is 1/8 of an inch. Inside there's a hard skull. The thing about puppets is they have to be light. If you try to hold 5 pounds over your head for half an hour, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You know, foam latex is the lightest material that you can use, but it's a bitch to work with. And it's got a rigid urethane skull inside. The body in this case is made out of flexible urethane, which is really a little heavier than I would like, because flexible urethane is flexible because it's got oil in it, and the oil is heavy. And that's why you don't use silicone, because the same thing is true of silicone. It's fine for a static figure, but not for one that you're holding over your head. So that's really the essence of that. The original body was built by Wendy that I mentioned before. She worked with the Muppets, and she was making Miss Piggy's body and other things. And that was made just out of cut foam. That's 1 inch foam that you would the same kind of foam that you would wash your face with. And you cut it and glue it to create the shapes that you want, and you stitch it to make the wrinkles. And so that was how, you know, the old men in the, you know, looking at the theatre, I forget the names of those characters.
Statler.
There you go. That's how those were made. And she made they couldn't make up their mind what Yoda looked like, and while they were trying to mess with it for 5 months trying to figure it out, she is the one that made a Muppet Yoda that was funny. And up until that time, Yoda was kind of an alien with his eyes half closed, and he really didn't look trustworthy, let alone funny. And so ultimately they, you know, they liked what she'd done, and it was very influential. She did a sculpt as well after that, and it was very influential on what Yoda finally looked like. So that's how Yoda was put together. I'm the only guy who worked on all 4 versions of Yoda that are in Empire Strikes Back. I thought I was just helping my boss make the prototype. The prototype filmed in Yoda's hut, but it had some mechanical problems. Well, my boss was trying to make a very sophisticated mechanism in what time was left after they decided what he would look like. They wanted a walking Yoda, and he said, no, we don't have time to do that. And I was the senior tech left in the workshop. Basically, when on Empire Strikes Back, Stuart's son Graham was his right hand, but when they were filming, he was down on set worrying about what we were filming, and I was really his left hand, so I was the senior tech left in the workshop. So they came and asked me if I could make an animatronic walking Yoda, and I said, no one knows how tall the trees are, let's just make an oversized Yoda. Put it on a little person and have him walk on his knees. I can do that in a week. Brilliant. So that was the first one that I did. Then they wanted a radio controlled one. I said, why would I build radio control when you've got all those guys that do radio control little robots and things running around? I'll give you the component parts, they mechanize them, I'll do the finishing. That was the second one that I did. And then the prototype had mechanical problems. Ultimately, it only filmed in Yoda's hut, and so I they asked me if I could build a backup for it, and I built the Yoda that you see in the forest that says "Do or do not." There is no try, and whatever else. And I built a mechanism for that too. That was the first animatronic mechanism I ever built.
Oh,
So I guess I did all right.
yeah. Jumping in the deep end on that one.
Yeah, I was. And I say to youngsters, look, there's times when you are offered, you see an opportunity, and you can either grasp it, or you can say, oh, I might say I can do this, and it might not work, and everyone will laugh at me. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that, right? Or you grab it and say, I think maybe I could do it, and you just grab it and shoot for it. And ultimately, it changed the way everybody looked at me, and within a year and a half, I was head of department on $40 million movies, and it just changed the way people saw me, right? So I always say, shoot for the stars, maybe you'll make it to the moon. So it's a life philosophy that I've followed really ever since. Anybody's got any questions? Then I guess we're done. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.